Hey, everybody, welcome to Sunday Live. Thank you for supporting the show. And today we're going to have another record release event with a new artist. But before I do that, I wanted to introduce you to my new headphone pads. Rather than having these big, large, red headphone pads, which making me feel like Princess Leia in Star Wars, or someone that had a couple donuts on their heads. So I now have some nice slimline black headphones, and I think that looks much better on the show. If you were a fan of these, feel free to make your desire for them known. I can always stick them in the postal mail to you, and you can enjoy those red, poofy headphones. I hope everybody's doing well out there and staying safe. We will be continuing a series, not only this week, but we will be booking 3 more new acts for September. These are new artists. I've never heard their music before, and I'm going to bring them on the show for record releases and help share their work with not only myself and with you. So be looking forward to that. Also, we're going to have Eric Jorgensen back on because we had some real weird sound problems that were going on, and kind of spoiled his show a little bit a few episodes ago. So I've asked him to come back on in September so we could get some nice, good audio of songs like The River, if you remember that episode. And as far as sound, it looks like last week we solved all the sound problems as far as sound quality. And now we have a really good audio on the tracks that are getting played and the videos that are getting played. And then we now have started having more live performances, and I look forward to do more live performances on the show. I've heard your requests, and number one thing was less talk, more live show. So that's what we're going to give you. Last but not least, the setup, it's still like, 5 minutes before the show, something's not working and that's not working. So each week you will see the announcement page that we're getting set up and whatnot. And if we don't come on exactly at 5, just bear with us by 5:15. Sorry, I shouldn't have said 5:15. By 5:05, we're usually rolling and all the comments are coming in. So have a little patience with that. And it's not that we're not there, it's just that there's some last minute tweaking of software going on. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on my sidekick, Joe Price. Hey Joe, how you doing?
Hey Caleb, how you doing?
Doing good. Up here in Seattle, we've got clear air, so I'm fine. I'm just worried about you guys in the Bay Area.
I had a little heat exhaustion the past weekend. This weekend, it's just the breathing issues. The smoke has been the worst it has been this week, and we have surpassed Beijing with regard to air pollution quality, or lack of said. But some of the good news is I've had some friends that had to evacuate in the South Bay fires, and thus far their homes have been saved miraculously. As of yet, they are not burned out. As of yet, they still have a home to go back to. So there's cautious optimism, and it's a big sigh of relief for me. It's something that's heartfelt. I'm fine. I'm safe. It's just my heart goes out to everyone else around me. I'm in the eye of the storm in the Berkeley, Oakland area. So my problems are very small by comparison.
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to living in California, hearing about grass fires happening, seeing go up, seeing Mount Hamilton go up, stuff out in the East Valleys go up. But this is the first time I've heard people talk about national monuments going up. Houses, up in a hill, etc. But I heard that the Lick Observatory, one of the oldest space observatories in the world, was at risk of getting burnt, and I saw pictures of the famous hotels and stuff in the Santa Cruz Mountains that had been destroyed. I mean, those things have been there a long time, like since the 40s and 50s, and in the case of Lake Observatory, 1890, something like that. So this is different. This is a little different. It's not just California having fires. This is a little more extreme.
Yeah, Big Basin Park has been destroyed pretty much. And so I don't know how many of the redwoods are going to survive, how many are not going to survive. But of course, it is pretty calamitous right now. The number one priority is people's lives. Of course, you know, the second thing is people's homes, having their homes go back to or not, or making plans to live elsewhere. But safety is the number one concern, and that's again, this is where any problems I have nowadays are first world. They are the smallest problems compared to everyone else. I'm very, very lucky. I've been counting my blessings.
Me too. Not only with the fires, but with COVID, folks have asked me, how am I doing? Are we safe? And luckily, I'm working from home. So, and, I got Amazon delivery that I can stockpile stuff. That's, like you said, that's a first world problem. I don't mind. I'm an introvert. I just get more studio time. And to me, stay home, stay safe, wear any protection that you can, and just wait it out.
It's funny. I've even caught up on my binge TV watching. I haven't had a television in years, and now that I've recently moved, I got Apple TV, and yet I have caught up on my TV watching. So now I got to go back to reading now again.
Oh, yeah, like you said, first world problems. Yeah, you see
Indeed.
people upset and whatnot. You're like, yeah, you're not in Afghanistan. You're not in some faraway place where you don't have access to modern medicine and supplies and whatnot. Just chill out and hang tight and consider that the world gave you a vacation.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I don't mean to diminish the real challenges that people even in the United States are facing as far as evictions and not having a home and what are they going to do and not having a job, and that's a whole another piece. And I truly believe as a country, the Western countries, that we can ride out that aspect of the storm. We just have to think about things in new ways. And, automation was coming along and going to put a lot of people out of work in the next 5 years. I was at a training conference about 3 years ago. No, maybe 4. And the big topic was, what are we going to do with all the truck drivers? Because within 10 years, now 7 years, it's predicted that there will be no truck drivers. They'll be all automated, all delivery of product. And, what are those folks going to do for a career? And as training professionals, the question wasn't to address the social economic issue. As training professionals, the question was, as trainers, how can we most effectively retrain people to change careers? And as you know, people change careers now every couple years. It's not like you get a job and you stay in that job your whole life anymore.
Exactly, exactly. And with that phenomenon of people changing careers every couple of years, one advantage of that is that people aren't quick to look up work history. They want to know what you've been doing the past. Well, like in IT, they want to know what you've been doing the past 5 years. And frankly, it's more relevant to find out what you've been doing the past 5 months.
Right. You're like, well,
It
every
needs to be
six
cleaned up.
months I implemented a solution for, this company, that company. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes,
And
yeah.
that's
So
going to be true even more. I mean, it started in the tech sector. I used to joke with my tech jobs when I got into training. They're like, "Oh, why did you do so many companies?" And I said, "Well, that's because if you survived 6 months in a tech company, you were considered hot stuff. The layoffs happened every 6 months, not every 6 years. And if you did 3 rounds at a tech company, 3 sets of 6 months, you were loved."
especially if you were a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And with what's happening now, well, with the fires and more generally with COVID-19, all of this is going to be redefined. The playing fields are going to be leveled and it's going to be redefined. Um, and what we do, even the technology, what's in demand, what's out of demand is being redefined. Us three right here on Zoom is a great thing, is a great example. I started tech supporting video conferencing umpteenth years ago. And as it turned out, here we are full circle. It's here again.
Yeah, and it's everyone this time. That's the real amazing thing about it is the technology had gotten robust enough that when everybody needed it, it was there, which is pretty impressive. The other part of that is, and I thought that just went in this side of my head and outside of that head, uh, is about the transition stuff. Yeah, I think that pace that came in the technology and COVID-19 is just going to force things that already were in place forward faster. I don't think it's going to really add specific new things. It's just going to take what already was going to happen over the next 10 years is just being squashed into 1 year. So
Absolutely.
stay safe, folks out there. If you are affected by the fires in the fire areas, I send prayers to you and your family that your homes are saved and that you have a safe place to be during these times. Now, I said we're going to do a little more music and less talk, so I guess I better, I can get up on a soapbox about about stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest this week. That is Michael Bang, singer, songwriter, and musician. And a friend reached out the other day and said, hey, I know this guy is really cool. He does cool music. You should have him on your show. And I said, yeah. Hey, Michael, want to be on my show? And he said, yeah. So here he is today. And initially the conversation was about his new single and my new single, The City, that should be hitting shelves in a couple weeks. And we agreed to review each other's songs. And it was great. We were able to give each other feedback and give review of the music. And I really like his stuff. So I'm honored to have him on today. Michael, hey, there you are. Awesome.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. So you're gonna play the new single, or is the new single out?
The new single's out. The song before by band Tell Me that's out. But yeah, I could play that song.
Now, so you don't, the song is coming out not under Michael Bang, but under Tell Me.
Exactly, yeah. My band Tell Me has been putting out singles. It's pretty much like right when quarantine started, I hunkered down and started actually putting stuff out. So that's our third song that came out since March.
Wow, that's great. When I talk to folks, a lot of people don't realize how much time and effort goes into writing, producing, and releasing a song.
God, yeah.
So that's pretty darn good timing to have 3 singles out. My Rise Up single, I submitted that at the end of July, and it only got approved by CD Baby for release on August 18th. They are 3 weeks behind schedule because so much music is coming out, which is awesome.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it does mean you have to really plan ahead. And I'm coaching a band right now who just recorded a full-length album, their first full-length album. And they're like,
cool.
yeah, we're going to get the masters. We'll release it next week. And I said, why? I said, I don't think it's going to be next week.
Yeah, I understand that itch. I've definitely in the past finished a whole album and been like, I need this to just be out because it just needed to get out, and I've been able to control that urge more recently.
So tell my audience a little bit more about this. As artists, yeah, we get a creative spirit. Oh, I got to hear this beat or hear this guitar part. We get rolling, and then the recording process is sometimes it can be, shall we say, extensive and repetitive, and then the mix process can be extensive and repetitive. So by the time we get done, we just we want to just throw it to the fence. So what helped you transition from that to taking a little more time with your releases?
That's a good question. I think just over time, I got more used to it. Also, with I've been in various bands, and some of them have been more like get the whole band in a room, do live takes of each song, very traditional style. The Tell Me stuff is like the opposite. I actually play every instrument. I'm lucky that it's just drums, guitar, and singing. But I play each and every one of those. So it's a very different recording process. And also, I've been just putting out individual songs rather than an album. And that, I think, has kind of helped too. How if I don't know about you, but whenever I have a new song and I'm at band practice, all I want to do is the new song. I never want to practice the old stuff. I just want to do the new thing. And same thing with releasing. I just want to do the new thing and get it out there. And doing releasing one song at a time has made me record one song at a time rather than a whole album and then try to like dole it out over time. So I think those factors all contribute.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what happens as the next phase, because a few years ago they said it was the death of the album, and pretty much people weren't buying albums anymore. People were streaming individual songs, so it didn't matter if you released an album; they're still only going to stream one song that got put on a playlist. So it didn't make any sense to throw all 10 tracks over the fence, but it made more sense to send one song out, get on on a Spotify playlist. And for folks that don't know, even if you release an album, you can only promote one song for that release on Spotify. So it makes more sense to get it all ready out to the distributors and have your release date a couple weeks later, so you can go to Spotify in pre-release. It's been distributed to them, but it's in pre-release mode, and then you can do a pitch. It's your one time. You can say to Spotify, this is the next best great thing. It should be on the country chart, or it should be on the electronic chart. And then someone will actually review the track. You may not get picked, but it's an opportunity that you'll be missing if you go straight to release.
Yeah, I've had my first experiences with that on this cycle of songs. So yeah, I've been learning about that stuff. I'm definitely a fan of albums. I'm definitely an album listener, and I think I'm skeptical about things that apply to top level artists and telling low level artists to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, I think every low level artist has a different kind of audience, and who knows what they're going to expect. But this particular band for me has definitely been very song oriented, not album oriented. So I like doing it this way. I do think the pitch, like for anyone who's done it, if you go into Spotify and pitch your pre-release song, you know, there's genre, there's mood, there's culture, if your music comes from a particular culture. And those tags are great, but I definitely don't think there are enough of them.
I have to jump in here, man. I did two, I did the city, which you reviewed, and did the Rise Up, and I'm like, what is there? There was like no drums or something. It was like banjo and xylophone, but nothing like, there was no keyboard. I'm like, who's picking these categories? It seemed very odd. It was like very eccentric categories, and yet mainstream stuff wasn't there. You're the first person that mentioned that as well, and that just sparked my memory, and I'm like, that's weird and crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, but that's what we got.
All right, I am getting a report of double conversation. So everybody, let's check our phones and whatnot, make sure we're not getting anything coming through.
Uh-oh.
That might be me. One moment.
I listened to my phone. Sounds fine here.
Yeah, mine's...
Anybody else getting duplicated audio coming through?
I just shut my phone off.
Okay.
So I have a muted computer and the second computer with which we have Zoom.
All right. Well, Sharon, hopefully what we just did will fix the audio on your end. If anybody else is hearing double audio, please post in the comments so that we can investigate further. It does happen. We've had a number of issues with these doubling audio coming from different fronts. I know Michael was having some challenge earlier, and I've had some challenge on some of the shows where it suddenly happens. Bear with us. It's a interesting technology. I don't think it's quite up to professional snuff, and it's pretty tricky to get these all-purpose computers that we have that do 50,000 things to do one thing well, is my experience. And if you want to hear more about my rants, I have a page on Facebook called Software Sucks. It also includes hardware complaints, so go check that out. And I posted up there so my wife doesn't have to hear about it. So, Michael, we were talking about the release cycle and about Spotify, and they had these weird categories that you're like, rock?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it either needs to be higher level or more, way more minute. It's either got to be like hip hop, pop, rock, country, jazz, classical, and that's it, or like every trickle down subgenre, because the medium that they have right now is just not, I don't know, doesn't seem like it would cover enough ground.
Yeah, I'm quite baffled by it, but I haven't had the opportunity to have any conversation with Spotify, or I'll mention on Balanced Breakfast next time. So you know Stefan, and I'm learning to pronounce it Stefan, even though it's an A, which means it should be Stefan. But there you go. So yeah, we should bring that up in Balanced Breakfast, because I'd love to know. I normally would bring this up at conferences. What was that?
How other people feel about it?
Yeah, just why? I maybe it turns out banjo has taken over the market, and rock is dead, and xylophone is the next hip hop. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess banjo and xylophone are distinct. Like, you're not going to hear the. I mean, a few years ago you would have heard banjo in the Mumford and Sons style stuff, but you don't hear it much anymore. And xylophone is out of nowhere for like mainstream music.
Well, hey, speaking of mainstream, I'm not saying you're a mainstream. I hope you don't take that word wrong, but I don't think you're a xylophone banjo duet. So I think we should bring some of that more mainstream music onto the show and have you play a song. What's our first one?
Sure. I'm gonna play a song that hasn't come out yet. This is actually a song I recorded the drums, guitar, and vocals for, and then decided that it was the wrong tempo and had to start completely over.
Oh, I've been there.
So, yeah. It sucks, but it's the right decision. I don't actually know what it's going to be called yet, but for now you could call it I Don't Want to Yell. All right. Shouting in the canyon, everyone together, and the buried echo could change your life. Can't afford a mystery, everybody has to tell everything right away all the time. But I do not want to yell. I don't want to tell everyone about how great I don't think I am. Into it, be so good they can't ignore, but we've had to learn to withhold our attention. Giving up your modesty, Generation Barnum, giving up your dignity is part of it. But I do not want to yell. I don't want to tell everyone about how great I don't think I am.
done.
Oh,
Well,
thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I love hearing songs at this stage of development.
Oh yeah.
I love getting songs out and releasing and performing live. Um, but more and more that I think about it, more and more I do, I love that moment where you're still crafting it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I love like right before you crack it, those are like the funnest moments because I don't know, that feels like real creation, I guess.
Yeah, I had a producer, Tyrone Stanford, who every Friday would do my mixing, and I would check in on him, and he'd be listening to some like one phrase looped over, just tweaking it like this, tweaking it like that, and I was like, oh my god! After 5 minutes of that, I have to leave.
Yeah.
I don't know how people and Tim Lehane that produces me now. I just don't know how people sit there and do that kind of microsurgery.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
and for me,
We
it's bigger. The bigger stuff's fun.
totally. I'm in another band called the Riot Professor, and our first well, actually I think everything we've done up to this point we've mixed ourselves. And I think it sounds good. But none of us are the listen to 4-second loop to find the one frequency that's wrong type people. So they all sound like, they were mixed by non-mixers. I don't think that's a bad thing, but it doesn't sound like amazing or like pro production sheen. But all this Tell Me stuff, or the ones I've been putting out this year, have all been mixed and mastered by an awesome engineer named Jeff Colheedy. Shout out to Jeff Colheedy if anybody knows him. He's actually a guy I went to high school with, and now he works in Oakland and runs recording sessions and mixes, and he's awesome. So that's why these sound so good.
Cool. Yeah, it's life changing when you get someone that really is a good mixer and producer in your life. As a artist, you can really then focus more on the lyrics and the overall song structure, and then be able to work with them on that piece and have that relationship. I used to produce all my own stuff, and I sort of thought I had to. And
Yeah.
so I was involved in the whole process end to end, and I finally found a mastering engineer that I almost don't have to check the work. Like he just does his job, and then it comes back to me, and I can release it. But for
Awesome.
a long time, most of my career, I had to be involved in the mixing. I had to be involved in the mastering and the review process. And now that I'm working with Tim, and he's really good at that, and I'm spacing out my mastering engineer's name, sorry, at the moment. Steve Turnage. And Steve Turnage has been doing mastering. He's written books on mastering. Between having the two of them on my creative team, I'm now able to free up that part of my mind to go and make the song as strong as it can be.
I identify with that. I definitely felt in the past, both creatively and financially, I have to do this part myself. I need to be in charge of every step of the process. And it's definitely a different skill set, like we mentioned, listening to one thing over and over and over. But it's also like you're going to get sick of your own song if you listen to it that much. If you listen to it enough that it takes to mix it properly, you're probably going to get sick of it after that while.
I hear you there. And once you're sick of it, you just want to work on the next song. It's like by the time it's released, you're like, then you really want to throw it over the fence, and you don't want to do promotion and everything else that you really need to build a fan base. Because
you've been over that song for so long.
I admire folks who I just saw Marshall join of Marshall Law Band, and he's got his buddies, and they go in the studio, and it's like they just all collaborate, and out it comes, someone works on it, it goes down the line. And I remember for years being jealous of bands that could do that, like the Who with Who's Next. They gave up on their big project, walked in the studio, and a week later they had an album, or Pearl Jam. And I've always been more of a Nine Inch Nails kind of guy, where you spend 3 years crafting the perfect album, and it's so it's really when you get into that mindset, it's very liberating when you step out of it.
Yeah, totally. Did you start from the synthesizer world?
Yeah, I started, one of the earlier episodes had my mentor, Dan Wyman, and when I was at university, I took a recording class and kind of fell under the sway and magic of Dan Wyman. He is the person that did all the synthesizers for the soundtrack for Halloween. That was his first big famous thing. And
Nice.
so,
Knocked it out of the park.
yeah, and I remember the moment. I'm dating myself here. I remember the moment in 6th grade at a friend's house. They had a pinball machine and a pool that had a black bottom, which is really cool. I remember the moment the first sound of Gary Newman's Cars came on the radio. You know, you're hearing all this rock and pop, and all of a sudden you hear this wah, 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 wah. Changed my life. That and seeing Close Encounters where they're playing the keyboard to the aliens. I'm like, I want whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what that thing is, but I want that. And that was,
Yeah.
got me maybe a synth addict.
Cool.
Okay.
That's awesome. Those are great starting points. Halloween, Cars, Close Encounters. That's quite a starting point for a music career.
I probably have chatted enough. I know I'm talking to those couple people out there that say I talk too much. I know. I'll give you more songs. So, Michael, we got another song coming up for us?
Sure, yeah, I'll play Before. This is the song that just came out that we did our article exchange on. Given the right tools, it isn't hard to spark. So many going, you're just an animal, fire no fuel. I can't look you in the eye. Well, one day before, what did we do before? Cutting another loose, altering your beliefs to find true love. It's unmistakable. Need to fan the flame. I can't look you in the eye. Where would they be
Awesome. I love that track. It just like a lot of your songs, they just have a great tone.
Thank you.
You know, and
Yeah, I definitely.
and
Sorry.
you,
Go
and you
ahead.
have this hookiness that I tend to release stuff and then I realize there's no hook. And like I come from a choir singing background, so doing ooey ooey doesn't occur to me.
Oh.
So I'm always like, just here's the lyrics, here's the notes, crank it out.
Yeah. That's
How did you start doing that?
that's a good question. I've come from a long line of bands and projects that were very, very complicated. I have a a master's in music composition, so I've written complicated classical things. I have another band that's a more intricate, layered indie rock kind of band. So specifically with this, I was definitely like, I just want to do something no nonsense, down the middle, fun for me, and hopefully fun for other people. And so uh, specifically the falsetto wee-oo. I don't know where that came from. I think I have a friend who calls it our wee-oo song specifically, but I don't know, inspiration. I couldn't claim to really know why I fucking did that.
I just suddenly had Weezer in my head. They,
Cool.
whatever the song where they had Happy Days, the show from the 70s in the video.
Oh, Buddy Holly.
Buddy Holly.
Ooh-wee.
'Cause- yeah. Has that falsetto part. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
keep thinking I'm going to do a falsetto song because when I'm walking around the house, I sing in falsetto to myself,
Oh yeah.
but I've never recorded. I guess it either
Yeah.
doesn't occur to me or I'm kind of nervous about. I would like to say.
Yeah, I've never really done that either before this batch of songs, but I have it on like 3 of them now, and I didn't realize how much I have to change my vocal warm up specifically to sit and do falsetto notes for like 10 minutes before I even sing these songs because my voice just isn't used to doing that. But it's fun.
So what is your warm up process? That's another hot topic for me because I am terrible at practicing and warming up.
Oh yeah. I've been lucky to have bands that were like very serious about practicing and warming up. In the Riot Professor, we always do a vocal warm up before shows because we do a lot of vocal harmonies in that band. For this one, I had to change it because of all the falsetto stuff. So I'll usually sing, and I'm also singing like because of the hookier nature. I'm also singing kind of towards the top of my normal vocal range a lot of the time. So I'll usually warm up like pushing up into my normal vocal range and then hitting some long falsetto notes for a while. It's about a 10-minute warm up.
Got it. 10
Yeah.
minutes, that's not bad.
Yeah, not terrible.
I hear that some vocalists have to do like 30 minutes before their voice starts. Some famous vocalists have been on record saying they have to vocalize for 30 minutes just to get the muscles going and loosened up properly.
Yeah, that makes sense. For me, the way I think of it is like if I need, especially with these songs, I can go for like a 7 to 10 song set and I'm going to hit some kind of wave, and towards the end of it I'm going to start to lose the voice, and so I need to be on the upstroke before I start, and if I don't get on that upslope, then I just don't hit the falsetto at all for the whole show.
Wow. But you're
I've definitely taken the vocals more seriously than I ever have before, or been more adventurous with the vocals than I have before.
because when you first did it, when you're performing just now, I didn't even occur to me that you were working up or timing your way into it. That's another thing that trying to do it all. I would also produce my own shows, set up all my own gear, all this stuff, and then I would go back and hear the vocals weren't as good as I wanted, and then part of me realized this last gig. Well, because you're tired by that point. You're stressed out because the gear isn't working or something. So you're the muscles are all now tight and whatnot, and you haven't properly warmed up.
Yeah, I think that's a part about being a low-level band that nobody would consider, because like having the idea of having like a roadie or other people set up is sort of like a little fancy and a first world complaint, a first world complaint. But if you think about those huge bands that just, you know, they just have to show up, everybody's taking care of their gear. Like whoever's singing might have to warm up, whoever's playing may sit down for a second, but like other than that, they're free to just be like physically ready in terms of their energy, emotionally ready in terms of their like pre-show whatever they need to do, and they don't have to be worrying about if something's going to stop working in the middle of it, or like, you know, lifting carefully out of a trunk because I'm getting older and I don't want to throw my back out just lifting my amp.
Oh, I know
that
that
kind
one.
of stuff. Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, a lot of people just go, wow, these big bands, they're big because they're really good. And us more independent artists could sometimes judge ourselves with that. And you have to step back from and say, yeah, well, that guy just had a nice massage and did a half-hour warm-up with a professional coach. So they don't even have to think about what they're doing in the warm-up. The warm-up was crafted specifically to their voice in that day and moment. And they just have to go out and deliver. And when you're an independent band, it's tough because you've got to do all these elements and stick them together before you get on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also like the merch side of things. Like if you have a merch table set up and you're the person who was in charge of it, so you just have to leave that stuff there. And maybe you're on stage being like, is somebody going to take my box of shirts?
Ooh, I've been there. I had that. I've been lucky with one of my bands. We had roadies and merch table attendant and all that good stuff. But when you're your own artist, and you're like, I'm gonna try to get in the moment, and then you look over and there's some guy, thumbing through the t-shirts, and and you're like, should I go over there right now? No, I'm performing a show. It's tough.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, that was Before is the single, and that's coming out in September, or is it out now?
Oh no, that one's out already. That one
Okay.
came out August 7th.
Cool.
So yeah, you can hear Before on Spotify or Bandcamp or wherever you listen.
And one more time, tell the audience the name of the band. I know you got the TMTM, so that's a moniker.
Yeah. Tell me.
Tell
That's our
me,
band.
tell me. So go out there, folks, on Spotify. I'm assuming YouTube and all the distribution channels. Put in "Tell Me Before," and you can hear the studio version of that track. Hey, Joe, you've been quiet. Are you doing all right out there?
I have been observant, taking in the wisdom of two professionals. I did have one question. Getting back to the vocal warm-ups, how much do you practice breath control?
Good question. I don't know how consciously I think about breath control. I feel like the times I notice it the most are when I've been thrashing and jogging on stage, and then I go to sing and I realize I'm completely out of breath. So probably not enough. I probably don't think about breath control enough.
I hear what you're saying with the practice and warming up of the breaths and having a peak and then a doldrum afterwards due to fatigue. I see parallels with this in theater. In theater, we would do the same thing. I would imagine even voiceover acting, but certainly with live theater, we would have warm-ups in the morning, not unlike singing, but we had no pretense of singing. It was just a theatrical voice. But we would have to take care of our voice and our stamina much the same way as I hear you describe. That's why I ask.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like in theater, it's probably it's probably a challenge thinking about breath because if you're moving around a lot, then you're obviously gasping for air sometimes. Maybe like the Broadway singer or the pop star with all the choreography is probably the ones who have to think about it the most.
Yeah, I understand that.
Now, for those that don't know, Mr. Price here, amongst his many, many talents and creative outlets, is a male can dancer.
Ooh.
Not that he does the can, the gals do the can, but he's like the guy who holds the gals when they flip and whatnot. And you did some jumps in that show.
I was responsible for cartwheels and front splits at the end, the kick line that we all culminate in a front split one after the other. All my old karate training paying off in ways I never thought it would.
So how do you do breath control with that? And I think this is a great topic for singers and folks that are listening in around breath control, because breath does so much. If you have body pain, you work on breath and you reduce the pain. You have singing problems, you work on breath, they go away. At the same time, growing up in choir, I was hammered with an idea of breath control that turned out to be bad for my voice. So I turned to speech level singing to change my ways there. And a lot of what they did the first 2 years is forget breath control. It was like breath control is your enemy because it's creating too much tension. What's been your experience, Michael?
Well, mine, when it's rapid movement on stage, and there's no speaking, but Ruth, I'm free to breathe, pacing myself according to the extent of the rigors and the intensity of the rigor, like with kick lines, that could be very aerobic. So I have to breathe rhythmically and whatnot. Whereas earlier when I was on stage doing Commedia dell'arte, that is a very physically demanding form of theater. At some point, I walk on my hands across the stage as part of it because the physical comedy is enough. But when speaking, when we deliver our lines, our bodies are almost frozen except for the gesticulation of our arms and hands. The rest of us is frozen in place from the feet up. And yet we project and it's like the sort of martial arts breathing. You do it from kind of the lower abdomen. You don't ignore the chest, of course, but you don't do it from the throat. You do from a lower abdomen so that you could project across to those last rows of whatever theater or whatever amphitheater you happen to be performing in, so that everyone hears you. You're very clear as a bell. You're not stammering your words, and it's very clear. And it's each word is a physical act. It's almost athletic in its nature, and that's when you're just standing still. Imagine when moving around. So that's why, God, it's like it's almost like watching Iggy Pop running back and forth on the stage, yelling to a microphone. You got to wonder how he does this. Another example, during Live Aid.
I think you're tossing so much in there. Iggy Pop, I mean, for folks that don't know Iggy Pop's probably in his 70s, and he still looks body built, and he's still doing this sort of punk rock high energy thing in his 70s.
Yeah, there was another thing comes to mind during Live Aid. Adam Ant does the song "Viva la Rock" for Live Aid, and it's a great performance. But he is at the same time, for all his energy, you can't tie the man down. But at the same time, he is gasping for air for his lyrics, and he does a great job. But because he is so athletic, he is fighting for his breath. It's mesmerizing to watch. But you feel because he's out of breath at the end of that song.
Michael, do you find this? I mean, I have a heavy critic in my own head around breathing and being out of breath on shows. Do you find that happens to you?
Good question. I think I most often notice it when I've made a mistake and I don't have enough breath. On the other hand, the Tell Me shows, I'm usually trying to be pretty intense. So like when I'm singing the major parts, I want to nail them, but it's okay with me if it's not, it can be a little rough. I'm not against that. I think the energy is probably the most important thing.
And a lot of folks also don't realize that, getting that energy is the most important thing. And even with professional videos, they take the audio of the singer, they process it, and they layer it back in. So by the time you see a, streaming DVD release, those vocals, no matter how natural they sound, they've been processed. They re-overdub new singing in the studio and layer it into the live concert. So when you're at a live concert, you're not thinking about, that third note was a little flat as the audience. You're having a good time, and it's the energy that matters. And then, post-production, you can do what you're going to do. So that's a very good point. It's like
the other thing I would say is that the most important thing for me vocally is getting the monitors right. If I can't hear the monitors, then it's never going to be any good. And I almost always have to have them push it up, even if it sounds good in sound check. I just know we're going to be accidentally playing louder during the actual show. I need them to push it up a little higher.
Thanks for saying that. I've ran into that multiple times. I'd say 80% of the time the monitors do not have the right level for the vocalist. And I used to like, oh, I'm not going to bug anybody about this, and then I would hear the performance, and the performance suffers.
Yeah, yeah. I think being afraid to bug anybody is. Uh, I've felt that way a lot of times, but sound engineers always want to hear exactly what you need from them, and uh, it's not bugging them to get everything sounding right. They want to sound good too.
True.
A lot of swing bands are working with monitors in some of the swing concerts and events I've gone through. The singers of swing bands, the crooners and whatnot, have a good rapport with the sound people.
That makes sense. Joe, uh, can dancing, commedia dell'arte. What's the pathway to these things for you? Was this like a high school, like drama in high school, and that led you to there, or was there some other? How do you end up doing that stuff? That's so cool.
Well, the people say high school is the best years of our lives, and for me, that's just a starting block. Um, a lot of these things they seem rather diverse, but they have a much, thankfully, and for my attention span, no less, and endurance, they tend to have a lot of overlap. Um, all you have to be is restless. You have to be restless, and you have to be malcontent, and those are the core things. Because how can you not create if you're restless and malcontent? So you have all these avenues, and I would be scattered to the four winds were not for the overlap. The theatrics of Renaissance fair and Dickens fair, acting on stage, getting in front of stage, the physics of commedia dell'arte translate well to the physics of can. Um, and those come from like backgrounds of martial arts and general fitness. At the same time, you have other things like swing dancing. The physics of swing dancing also kind of relates similar. It's a stage without a stage. Your audience is your dance partner. That's the only difference.
Hmm.
And even something as diverse as motorcycle and bicycle riding, the balance required on a sport bike or on a bicycle, wheelies, riding in no hands versus sliding a back wheel around on a motorcycle in through a turn. A lot of balance is involved. Not just that, but the symmetry of the controls, which translate well. If you've done any ballroom dancing, like Viennese waltzes, it's very gentle and concise with the dance partner. The lead is very gentle, and it's similarly very gentle on the handlebar controls. Nothing is ham-fisted or strong. The softer and more gentle you are, the greater control you can have.
Yeah.
And that's especially true with martial arts. You know, control. It's not about strength. It's control, and it can be a very fine touch, and then that translates. And that's just one other example.
Yeah.
Mostly, I can't keep still. It
Yeah.
helps. I'm a coffee addict. I drink a lot of coffee.
Cool. That's awesome.
And Michael, as you can see, Joe is like a man of many talents. He's like just casually flips off, acting, dancing. I don't even think he mentioned his swing dancing background with the whole Lee Preston and the Nails and that whole crowd in San Francisco, and then cycling, motorcycling, and he's also really a cool writer who writes about traveling around the Bay Area. Like at 2 a.m. in the morning when no one's out on a motorcycle and what it looks like, going to the Marin Headlands and all this stuff. You should check out his Facebook page. And we have an episode where Joe got to do some poetry readings for us.
Cool.
We're coming at the end of the hour. Let's go ahead and... Do you have time to stay past 6?
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
good.
cool. I figured I'd play a video of a performance that you sent me, and then we'll
Awesome.
have you come back and do some more live performance. That sound good?
Awesome.
Cool.
Ready.
So what is this video all about?
This video is us playing our song "Probably Priceless." It's "Probably Priceless" is the song that was like the keystone for this whole aesthetic that I've been chasing down. When I figured this song out, I knew my path forward for all the Tell Me songs, and I just love it. It's one of my favorite riffs, the like drum beat style, the like low note to high note riff style, the vocal melodies, the lyrical content, literally everything about this aesthetic came from this song. So that's probably priceless.
Awesome. So here's Tell Me with Priceless, played live. So, folks, that was a little example of how OBS, my broadcast software, can have problems. I've fixed the problem, and now here is Priceless by Tell
Probably
Me.
priceless.
What was that?
Probably priceless.
Probably. It's not priceless, but it's probably priceless by Tell Me.
Thank you.
That was Probably Priceless by Tell Me. So, so you hadn't done that sort of two-part guitar before? You were saying at the beginning of the song that that's really what kind of got the Tell Me sound?
Yeah, exactly. That two-part guitar stuff was like one of the big breakthroughs.
Because I've been lately trying trying to learn guitar again, and I'm still kind of strumming and picking and going through this, and it strikes me that during this track you're playing a lot of stuff. There's a lot of silence, which
Oh
just
yeah,
it's just the guitar. I'm sorry, just the drum, and maybe a
yeah,
delay of the guitar.
absolutely. Yeah, there's plenty of room for the drums to just be there. And also with just guitar, drums, and singing, it's always good to have a, a simple bass to then build on and then come back down to.
One of because I tend to layer tracks. I have a long history of just putting slammers like put the whole cake in there, just layer
Yeah,
and
yeah.
layer, and then maybe I strip down layers and build up layers. But it really struck me with that piece that there was a lot of breath, there was a lot of openness, and then punctuated moments, and that was really nice.
Thank you very much. I'm glad. It's definitely a product of the situation. When I started Tell Me, I was tired of trying to organize a lot of people's schedules. So I was like, I just want guitar and drums. So there's just one person I have to schedule stuff with. And so that led to all the, well, if I'm only playing one thing, how can I get low sounds? Okay, I'm going to hit bass notes and use a pedal that'll knock it down an octave. How can I do something that's not just a guitar strumming? I'll do these riffs. All that stuff sort of came from just the fact that it's just guitar and drums.
Wow. And you're one of those rare people like my friend Tim who can play all these different types of instruments and then take arrangements of multiple instruments and put it into one instrument.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely try to do that. I want it to sound like more than one thing.
Yeah, I didn't have a sense of like, oh, where's the bass guy on this? Where's the keyboards? It sounded like, and given that patch, that guitar patch, it kind of had a synthy kind of edge, like a sawtooth edge to it. So it filled all the sonic need.
Yeah, I definitely wanted it to have that not quite guitar sound to it. So it's gratifying to hear.
Yeah, I really like it, and as folks know, yeah, I like all music, blah blah blah, but it's very few pieces of music that just really jazz me. So I was very thankful to Stefan for giving me that review opportunity because I'm like, I really like this stuff, and now that
Oh,
I'm
thank you
hearing your
so
stuff
much.
more and more, I want to dig into it more and more because I think I could learn a lot from what you're doing.
That's incredibly kind of you to say. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that you dig the music.
Yeah, totally.
I love the level of resourcefulness using getting more sound out of less instruments. It's,
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely. It took me a while to solve that. Actually, in the video, uh, that's like an earlier iteration, and I have even more things that I do that add to the sound. Um, I have signals going in different directions out of my guitar that help with the sound.
that's phenomenal. It's got to be convenient on a production standpoint, but also just incredible for live performances. You can get that much, and there's like two, maybe three people on stage. Uh, Also, watching a performance on the computer, it's a very exciting. The crossover between theater and musical performances, it's just being on stage like that. It's just a very exciting time of creativity. I say this as a theater person, but the only thing I can play is hooky. But but watching you, I feel a strange kinship because you're on stage creating and you people are looking at you and being inspired.
Oh, that is very kind. Thank you very much. I definitely want to. I try not to stand in one place when I play, and that's hard because sometimes I'm locked into that pedal. But I do try to. I've usually the way I've usually explained my approach to physicality on stage is I want to be right on the edge of rock star poses and stuff, and like extremely silly. Like, what is he doing? Like, I want to ride that edge of like badass rock and roll, and what made him decide to do that?
There are a lot of bands that have come up in the eras of prog rock and whatnot and massive production. I mean, three people sounding like 30 because it was so overly produced. But then taking it back down to the bare essence, just stripped down to its bare, like a chopped and lowered like a kid's hot rod. It's just wonderful. And it brings it back to the raw essence of what the music should sound like.
Thank you very
And the
much.
resourcefulness of two, maybe three people producing a full sound. That's everything.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. That's good to hear because I'm definitely aiming for that goal. So I'm glad I hit it.
And you should listen to this video later and write down what Joe said and put that out as your next review, because that, I think, is the quote. That's your review quote. Chopped and lowered like, what was it? Chopped and lowered like a kid's
Hot rod.
hot rod.
That's a
Chopped
great
and
point.
lowered
Yeah.
like a kid's hot rod. Tell me. Chopped and lowered like a kid's hot rod.
That's awesome. Yeah. I gotta write that down.
That'd be your banner.
Yeah.
One of my bands had a good banner. It was electronic rock with a spanking good beat,
That's awesome.
which told people what the lyrics were like, from the lead singer. Yeah, so we are kind of getting there, and what I want to do is give everybody their weekly mystic moment, and then get another performance from you.
Sweet.
So, folks, as you've been listening to us talk about music production, music performance, one of the things you're hearing Joe and I present is feedback. Feedback is the artist's bread and butter. It's one thing to be sitting in your studio and just create stuff and make decisions yourself. But at a certain point, if you open yourself up, take the risk, and receive feedback. Receive positive feedback about your work, and then receive critique. Now, critique is not necessarily just positive feedback, and it's not beating someone up about something. It's simply providing ideas that the artist may not have thought of. Or it can be simply reflecting back what you're hearing, and the artist having confirmation that the decisions they're making are the right decisions. This is hugely beneficial. So feel free to, go out there and post comments. And again, be nice about stuff. I see terrible comments out on the internet all the time where people are just baiting people to get in an argument, or, they're energy vampires. So don't be that. But go out there and provide feedback and open yourself up to feedback in kind. It will provide you with opportunities in your life you never would have thought of. And you don't have to, if the feedback doesn't work for you, you just let it go. It's as simple as that. You don't have to get upset or react or anything. You just hear the feedback and say, that's interesting. No, I choose to go this way. And it's done. So there's no risk you have in receiving feedback, as long as you just make that decision of whether or not the feedback applies to you directly. Because people will give you plenty of feedback that's really nothing about you, it's about them. In those cases, just let it wash over you down the drain. So that is your mystic moment of the week. I challenge you to go out and provide some artists some feedback, or join a community like Balanced Breakfast, West Coast Songwriters. There's a bunch of different communities on Facebook where you can present your music and get feedback. I participate in one that's bi-weekly where you play your song, and there's about 20 people in the room. They give you all the feedback, and then you can take that away, work on your song more, work on your mix more. And that has been a huge aid in increasing the quality of what I'm putting out into the world. So that's your mystic moment for the week. We're going to have another performance from Michael. Please do go out there and look up Tell Me, and look up his work. And he goes by Michael Bang. And is Bang your stage name? Or is that your birth name?
That is my legitimate last name. It's of Norwegian heritage.
Because I was trying to encourage him during the review that he's gonna use that name out there. Tell me with Michael Bang. There should be an exclamation point at the end of that. It makes a good marketing sense. And I talking about giving feedback is I didn't hear anything more about the exclamation point, and then that's when I realized, oh no, that's probably his legal name. So he's wanting to keep it authentic. But when it's branding, man.
Totally.
What do you think, Joe? Before he plays the song, vote thumbs up or thumbs down on putting an exclamation point at the end of Michael Bang.
I'd say thumbs up. Thumbs up.
I'm ganging up on you,
Put a
Michael.
Just a
All
little
right.
more, of importance.
So
Yeah,
and maybe
feedback
that's
noted.
I'm an introvert, and I can be very out there, but inherently I am a shy introvert. So I understand if you don't want to push yourself out there with that exclamation point, but I think the music backs it up. It's not like you're doing easy jazz.
That's true. Yeah, it wouldn't be a misnomer, but I'll think about it. I'll let
All
it
right.
rattle around.
All right, so what song you got for us next?
This is another song that's out now. It's called.
Sorry,
Oh.
I just switched to the wrong screen, and we started watching a clip of the live performance. So, hey, what song do you have for us next? Take two.
This is a song called Voices. It's another song that's out now. You can listen anywhere, including Bandcamp. I always like to throw Bandcamp out there because if there's any people who use it, they're a super great company. And for the first Friday of I think every month for the rest of the year, so the way Bandcamp works is you sell music on there. So if you don't want to buy music, I understand that. But if you do, they sell music and they take a percentage. On the first Friday of every month, they waive their percentage. So they're a super solid resource. Anyway, this is called Voices. I hope you like it. This is not a debate we're having. Argue all you want. But I have too much experience to engage with you. I learned long ago to try and ignore the things you say to me. But you can be so loud and humorous that I couldn't find the tools. This is what I use. You're the only one that can make it stop. All the voices. Escapism, empty fantasy, call it what you will. I'll keep dreaming whatever gets rid of you. This is what I use. You're the only one that can make this stop. All the voices.
Awesome. Love that track.
Well done.
Thank you very
Joe
much.
and I are about around the same age, so
Well done. I like the work on the guitars. So the hooks are like a minstrel with an edge to it.
Yeah, I could see that totally.
yeah, there was a little Jethro Tull in there, wasn't there? A little like Jethro Tull mandolin.
Oh, I think you're
kinda.
muted, Caleb.
Oh. Hello.
There we go.
Yeah, I at first I was thinking about Joe and I are about the same age, so we went through that really post-punk period And a lot of your, especially this last track, some of that post-punk quality and in its sound, but with an American voice, which is really, really cool. You definitely have something here. And then you can jump from that to the shoegaze and Weezer in the 90s, and then forward now to this kind of folk new wave stuff that I'm hearing. And you just, like, you're bringing all those threads together into this music. It's really exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome to hear. There's definitely some retro threads that are coming in, and hopefully it sounds like now. But
yeah, it
thanks.
doesn't sound like you're doing a cover band or a whatever they call, a nostalgia band or anything like that. It's definitely, I feel like now it's got a power. I find right now people want something that's comforting but powerful. And you're not doing like thrash metal or something that's just in your face. You've got the edge there, much like I guess Billy Bragg was for the 80s, in that he was doing edgy lyrics about solidarity and unions and political stuff. But he still had that folky quality. You've got this rock. You've managed with your processing and whatnot to have this rock edge quality. But again, it invites you. It doesn't hit you in the face, which I think is really cool. And then Joe just said about the some earlier rock styles, sort of pre like 70s stuff. And all of a sudden, as soon as he said that, I heard like Jethro Tull doing some
Yes.
of Songs from the Woods, some of that guitar work and that kind of mandolin being thrown in there. And somehow you're doing this all on acoustic guitar, which just blows my mind.
Awesome. I feel having trouble dealing with all these kind words. But yeah, there's definitely I could see all those flavors in there, and that's definitely not, well, I can hear all that. And the acoustic guitar thing, it's definitely, it seems like an odd choice for these sounds, but it's definitely just the normal reasons you would expect. I like how this guitar sounds and how it feels to play it. Those are the only reasons I use this as opposed to any other electric.
I think it's a part of the charm of what you're doing is that you're synthesizing things, and not in a blunt, chopped way. They're actually melded together into their own thing. But when you look at it, you say, "Oh, this is kind of a rock guitar sound," but it's an acoustic guitar. But it just doesn't sound like either. You're being successful in taking the two things and blending them to make a third. So I'm really excited, and we'll talk more offline. I have some, I don't know, there's stuff percolating in my head. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but
Awesome.
very excited about the music that you're making.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's wonderful to hear. I'm so happy people are, I don't know, it's hitting the right way.
And Joe,
Yes.
you had some thoughts there. I want to give you some final thoughts before we wrap up today's episode.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, the Billy Bragg reference was great because it's like you had the challenge of a protest song with the approachability of a busker at the same time. Just a little sweet, a little savory, and it's just the right mixture. And it draws people in. It's a bit of a challenge, but it draws them in, and it lends a good focus because of the musical quality. And as for constructive feedback, I'd say use the dancing girls or the backup singers, you'll be just fine.
All right, I'll take note.
Always gets you, once you got a sound and you start being famous and you start going, yeah, I gotta look bigger. You always end up putting the dancing girls in there. It's never a good thing, man.
Yeah, this isn't the time for Giorgio Moroder quite yet.
Add a little
Wait.
disco beat in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my album was really successful, but I hear this is the trend. Now I'm gonna follow the trend.
Yeah.
You're doing great, and I think Oakland is. It's great to hear that you're in Oakland. Oakland's probably my favorite city in the world. I'll just put it out there, and I lived in Emeryville for about 7 years, and I lived in Oakland 7 years before that, and a little bit of it in Berkeley. And for 7 years, I just rode my bicycle everywhere. got rid of a car, and so I felt like that those cities, I know every pebble, every chip in the concrete, because when you're riding a bicycle, you have to know where every chip in the concrete is. And some
Yeah.
parts of the East Bay are pretty rough, so
Oh yeah.
you better know how you're riding around. And I think that those qualities would not only be good for Oakland, but also you might, if you're not ventured into Marin, I think your sound would go over very well in Marin. There's a big nostalgia side. They're all still listening to, the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac. And I used to joke, I lived there, that every week I heard Hotel California coming out of a car or in a bar, But there are pockets of new music happening in Marin. And when this COVID thing blows over, I think you should cross that bridge and make some contacts in Marin. I've got a few, if you don't. And
Sweet. Yeah. that'd
when
be
the
rad.
wine bars and tasting rooms and pubs start reopening, I think you'd be a fantastic act for them to have.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be awesome. I'd love to play in Marin.
It's a whole new world in Marin from Sausalito north.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, I wonder if of course, we'll have to see who's not devastated by all this. The No Name
Yeah.
Bar, things like that. I just don't know if they're going to be there. And the yacht club. What? I'm sorry, not the yacht club. What is the place called by Cavallo Point? The place down on the waterfront, Joe.
That would be the Presidio Yacht Club. Presidio Yacht Club, the No Name Bar, even places, let's say, there's another place. There's a bunch in the Paper Mill. The Paper Mill, way out past Fairfax, sort of central Marin along Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. The Paper Mill especially, because they've been trying to do some outdoor shows in light of all that has happened.
Oh,
So you
cool.
see some people there are people that are trying to work outdoor performances, return to a type of busking, if you will.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's
Cool.
great. It's good to know that
Yeah.
folks have starting finding ways. I know in Balanced Breakfast yesterday we had a listening party, and folks were talking about they are performing 6 feet away from each other, or they're finding large outdoor spaces to rehearse, and that there are these performances. And I saw the pictures of in Britain a week ago where they're now doing concerts where they put square chunks of riser, like stage riser, and they put them in like little islands across the audience that have a little fence around it. So you basically,
Oh, I
you and your
feel like I've seen
friends
that.
get tickets for that little pod. So your virus pod can all hang out together across a field. So, people are getting inventive with it, and that's a good point that we might not have to wait, especially with your style. I'm also thinking, again, it's all if things are allowed to be open and what's being allowed to open, but Tavern on 4th Street, they might, they're actually
a-
more hip hoppy, but or maybe dance. I'm trying to think. In Cavo when they open, I know Bennett in Cavo in 4th Street would love to have you by, and shoot. Oh yeah, the Presidio Yacht Club. I got to talk about that. Hold on, folks. We're going a little over time. We're going to talk about Presidio Yacht Club. In fact, I should throw up the after party sign. Hey, we're already in after party this week. Thank you very much. This is after party. We're going to talk a bit. So Presidio Yacht Club is this cool spot. So right below where the Golden Gate Bridge lands in Marin, on the bottom right is a Coast Guard station. It's all rocky, and there's a Coast Guard station there, and there's a little bit of shore. And up that shore is a former military base that's become a hotel. But between the nice posh hotel, the old concrete rotting bunker, and the Coast Guard station, it's just this wooden 2-story building, nondescript. You think it was a warehouse.
Yeah.
You go upstairs in it, and here's this funky, it almost feels like an old, I don't know, one of these, men's
Roadhouse.
lodges. What was that?
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse meets, but it's got a little bit of like the funky old lodge, It's like got wood paneling and ceiling, and you can look out the window at the bay and the Bay Bridge, and they have live acts there. I've heard some incredible music, and you would never know this spot even existed, and it'll be packed with people with live shows. And I
That's
think
awesome.
that'd be a really cool space for you.
The
I would,
Presidio, that's the Presidio Yacht Club?
Presidio Yacht Club, and I just always thought of it as the hideaway bar.
Yeah.
It's just like on a
there's
beach.
another outdoor venue in San Rafael. The name escapes me, but it's owned by Phil Lesh, and it's in the
Ah,
Canal
Uh,
District.
Terrapin Crossroads. You know what? I
Yes,
hadn't thought about that because Terrapin usually has bigger, like 7-piece bands. Both there's a big park in the back with a big stage, but also inside there's a stage. So
I know them by their outdoor stage, and their outdoor concerts have been huge.
ah,
so I wonder if maybe as an opening, because I know sometimes they'll Phil will come on later and they'll be. Oh, and by the
mm,
way, they have a third stage which is massive indoor concert space. Um,
okay. So
Even
yeah,
indoors,
maybe
I've
find
never
an
seen.
opening spot.
What was that?
Find an opening spot on a bill there or something.
Yeah, I don't know how hard it is to get in. It's definitely like the one that I think
Yeah, yeah.
Sweetwater
Okay.
and Terrapin, but they have a lot of bands that are touring around the country that do that sort of rock, folky, 70s, like hippie rock,
Yeah.
jazz kind of stuff. And I'm just trying to think if I've seen a two-person act play there, um, or whether or not you have to be bigger. But
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
doesn't hurt to ask.
Sure. Okay, so Paper Mill, Presidio Yacht Club, Terrapin and Sweetwater are a little bigger.
Yeah, I'd say
Got it.
the inside the restaurant at um, Terrapin Crossroads. But yeah, Joe, if you know anybody there, will reach out to me offline. I know a bunch of folks in Marin, and it's a small place where everybody knows each other's names. So shoot me a message and remind me, and I'll shoot a message to my Marin folks and see if anybody's got a contact.
Awesome.
Absolutely, yes.
All right,
Sweet.
folks, we are at 6:30, so I need to cut over to a software training group. And I just want to thank Michael so much for being on the show. Love the music. And Joe, welcome back after a week away, suffering heat and smoke inhalation. I'm glad to see you're back on the show.
Good to be back. I love it here. I love what we're doing.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
You're welcome,
Pleasure was
Michael.
ours.
You guys take care, and I'll see you again next week, Joe. And Michael, I'll see
Until
you
next week.
online.
We'll talk.
Ciao. Thank you, everybody, for watching this week's episode, premiering Michael Bang's new single, Believe. I think that's what it was called. I don't know. Anyhow, check it out. Tell me, and look it up online and look at his music. I'm really enjoying his stuff. If you want to hear my stuff, you can always find me at Caleb, Audio Terrorist, or Career Blue on Bandcamp and YouTube. And thank you, and talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Stay safe out there. All right.